The idea, and this is what sent like the tech bro community mad, is once you've been told that this is possible, in order to preserve your own life in the future, you need to start contributing to the creation of this machine. You need to, because if it gets contributed without you, it's going to get you.
Redistribution Party. Redistribution Party. Redistribution Party. Redistribution Party. Redistribution Party. Redistribution Party. Redistribution Party.
Hello, and welcome back to Mandatory Redistribution Party. I'm Jack Evans.
And I'm Sean Morley.
We got a two-chunker for you. Chunk 1 is about why going back in time to kill Hitler is a bad idea.
And chunk 2 is about why you shouldn't poison yourself with numbers.
Are you pumped?
I'm jacked up.
Please, tell your friends and family about Mandatory Redistribution Party. Thanks to those of you who do this. We appreciate it. Thanks also to those of you who support our show on Patreon.
If you pop yourself on patreon.com/mandatory redistribution party, you can send us some of your income, which we'll spend on chips.
And heating.
And water.
Council tax.
And student loans.
So if you had access to a time machine, what would you do? It's like a steampunk modded Nissan Micra that can create a wormhole when it goes over 40 mile an hour.
Oh, so it's quite easy to create a wormhole then.
You don't want to make it hard. You don't want to have to drive dangerously and speedily when you're already worrying about time travel.
Because if you have to drive dangerously to go back in time, you don't know what the condition of that road was like. Because surely back in time, that road's probably just got cars on it, also trying to use the road.
Yeah, it could be cobbled.
If you go really far back, it could be cobbled, yeah.
You hit 88 miles per hour, you come out of a wormhole.
Immediately hit a horse.
That's your fault.
You're liable. What could you do?
Yeah. Good luck with your insurance papers in 1918.
Yeah. Good job dealing with the bureaucracy of the Regency era.
So 40 mile an hour. Even that might be too fast, actually.
It's still quite fast, but way more deal withable as the speeds you would assume would be necessary to go through space-time.
Yeah.
So actually quite modest.
Yeah. How fast can a horse go? Maybe we should just do horse speed.
Can't go 40 miles an hour. No way, Jose.
Horse max
You're going to get the
speed.
fastest possible horse, though. You want horse average.
Whoa! The top speed at the world's fastest equine sprinter is 88 kilometers an hour.
Must be going downhill. There's something's up with that.
Whoa, hold on. 88, isn't that the time travel speed? No, because it's kilometers an hour. It's actually in miles per hour. That is 55 miles per hour.
Okay, it's not as truly bonkers. It's still too much. And remember, that's the fastest horse ever. So we're talking about some freak here. If you, I'm never going to see a horse go that fast.
Yeah.
The fastest horse I'm going to ever lay eyes on could probably hit 30 if it wants to become ill. Like each mile takes a year off its lifespan.
That horse has put all its points in agility. Which a typical horse hasn't min-maxed.
Yeah, there's no way that horse is going to be charismatic.
It's not getting past any speech checks. Yeah. What horse is what? Oh, I suppose with other horses. Yeah.
Sorry,
so
you had an internal confusion there, and I'd like to know what it was.
No, it's just like what horse is getting into interactions where it has to do a speech check. And then I was like, it's already failed because it's a horse and it can't speak human language. So then I solved the problem by saying that the horse is speaking to other horses.
I think animal communication genuinely has nuance.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Definitely.
So there we go.
So you go through the wormhole at a safe speed to travel through time. Where would you go and what do you reckon you could do?
Well, wherever I can get to go back in time, right? Because it's not a space and time.
Steampunk micro.
Yeah, and we're not going to go full time travel pedant where you've got to make sure the Earth will still be in the same rotation. That's a pedantry I've never seen actually, like in a time travel thing where you go back in time a week and you're like, there's no planet here now. You're dead.
Yeah. So you should probably, if you're going to travel through time, you should probably wear a spacesuit. You should probably go slow. You don't want to go, 88 miles per hour. That's actually really dangerous because you don't want to land on cobble, and you should also wear a spacesuit.
Go as slow as you can. I think dress to suit where you're going.
Yeah, if you're certain that it's we need to write off
this
the
planet
position
thing.
of the Earth issue. Yeah,
because the way you think about
it's not fun.
Because you've got the planet, you've got the galaxy, and the whole universe is expanding. I just don't think you can land on the same spot. I think you just if that's in, time travel's back out. Unless you time travel a spaceship and then you've got to time travel the spaceship and then just fly to the Earth. But then each time you've got to deal with landing on the Earth, and people going, "You're an alien then," and you're like, "Actually, I can see why you think that, but actually, I'm this other implausible concept." But with a spaceship.
Space, it's definitely safer to time travel in space because space, clue in the name, a lot of space.
It's wide, isn't it?
Yeah, you're not going to hit a horse and get into an insurance debacle in space.
I think if there was a vehicle collision debacle in space, it might actually be more severe because you don't need to deal with like just a guy with mutton chops saying "I say." You've got to deal with sufficiently advanced technology to have a space collision.
It's hard enough when you have an accident in another country with insurance. What about if it's a different galactic empire or something?
Yeah.
Horror show.
One thing you can say about cobbled streets is no lasers.
Let's say you're just restricted to where you are. You try time travel within a mile of your house.
Are there any restrictions on like how far in time I can go? Is it forwards and backwards?
Why would you go forwards?
What do you mean?
You go forwards anyway.
Oh, snail's pace. Bloody glacial over here.
Yeah, 1 minute equals 1 minute.
Time going forwards is torture. It's a hell.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Speed.
I wouldn't mind if I could have a time machine that makes me just go backwards in time. Not like Benjamin Button, but I just perceive everything. Everyone just gets younger. Everything gets newer. Entropy goes in reverse. People slowly have just they are born old, and then over time, just loads of happy coincidences happen to them, and they become less stressed until they're a baby. I would do that. I'd sign up for that.
Oh man, I don't know if that delivers the premise I was getting at.
I have no idea what the premise you're getting at is.
Yeah. So. What would you? Okay. Let's just frame it in the realms of like politics.
Oh God.
By which I just mean improving or making worse people's lives. You go back in time. What would you do? I'm
gonna say that the further back in time you go, perhaps the easier it is to have some form of influence. But the more difficult it is really to know what the like butterfly effect ramifications that will be on the present. Presuming what your end is to come back to the present and political reality is improved, then you could just go back to like the Middle Ages and just kill a few people and then just come forward and then be like, oh, it's sort of the same, but you know,
it's different flavour.
Yeah, there are still like instead of the local council, it's a duke. But that's not bad.
Killing a few people in the Middle Ages stops capitalism and feudalism carries on.
I know there's capitalism, but there's still dukes. I think
there's still dukes now.
There's still dukes now.
Yeah.
Well, that didn't do anything. Why did I kill those guys?
You tried your best. This is like the kill Hitler thing. You know, there's like 40 attempts on Hitler's life that all failed. So probably if you went back in time to try and kill Hitler, you'd be one of those failed attempts. Yeah.
Ludwig Asner, Beppo Roma, Helmut Milius, Paul Josef Sturmer, Helmut Hirsch, Joseph Thomas, Ludwig Asner, George Essler. They did it with the time bomb. Big respect. Everyone knows Stauffenberg. Eberhard von Breitenbuch straight up tried to shoot him. Gangster. It's like a really long list. There's 42 assassination attempts on Hitler that we know of.
There was a few. They came close. A few of them came close.
Yeah.
But I thought the whole naysaying of the Hitler killing ploy is that Hitler wasn't even like a particularly gifted strategist. He just was the guy. And he would have been, Himmler or someone would have just come in and be like, I guess I'm Hitler now. We'll just do everything the same.
Yeah. Liberal history in it of like, it's just individuals. It's also Hitler's own propaganda.
Yeah, if Hitler hadn't invented all of these ideas from nowhere in particular, none of this would have happened. I think you go right back to the Nile Delta.
Okay.
And when people are saying, because there's this problem of like, someone needs to tell everyone where to farm, right? Because they're just farming willy-nilly. So someone needs to gain some kind of religious-based authority, or maybe a patriarchal-based authority, to just organise these farms, right? Because everyone's just farming randomly. It's a fucking mess, and it's hard to get taxes on it. Right. And I need to go and like do a lot of love bombing for farming wherever you like. Okay. It's a love bombing campaign for random farming, and really ingrain it that just farming wherever you like is really cool. It's really fun. It's punk. It's punk. That's what it is. I'll bring back punk, but punk is farming wherever you like on the Nile Delta, even if it's a weird shape.
Agro-punk.
Yeah, agro-punk. That's good.
Agro referring to agriculture or agrarian, not being aggressive.
It'd be like free hugs, but like also...
Here's a packet of seeds.
Do you know they worked out how to, like a lot of the early maths about how to calculate the circumference of circles and curved shape was purely about taxing people who've made weird shaped farms, because it used to be a tax dodge to make a circular farm. Because they only really knew how to like fully calculate squares and hexagons and stuff. Yeah. But if you make a circle, they tax you a little bit less than technically you've got. So the circles were going mad in the farms.
I love all that shit. Like when they tried to tax fireplaces or windows. So you just
let's have a small window.
Small. Yeah, like job done.
Well, this is the other way. It's not like a tax that's imposed. It's just a normal tax that people that people force their way out of, and it ends up improving the entirety of mathematics for the rest of the world, for the rest of history.
But are you worried that going back could change this? You might erase maths.
Oh God, I'd erase maths, wouldn't I? So we come forward. I guess if I'm trying to take us back to the Nile Delta and stop the progress of hierarchy there, then surely I'm biting the bullet and just saying primitivism. Like if I just come back to Sheffield and it is still just circular fields and everyone's going, we love building wherever we like, and we know that it's sacred to do so because one, there was a prophet who came out
Circle
of
mall.
Yeah, came out of the sky, came out of a sort of a wormhole, knocked over one of our horses, we let him off. And secondly, we were doing it for so long, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it's just I guess subsistence farming. Do I want that? I do love lecky and being warm and mass communication. And maybe I don't want.
It's well good.
It's really hard. I feel like it's nice to have primitivism as a big red button to smash when you're very, very scared. You just go, primitivism, bushels of wheat.
I'll tell you what's cool about your idea is that you're like, I'm going to go back and do something to do with agriculture, rather than I'm going to go back and kill person X.
It is very hard to break out of the mindset of being like you're just sending a bullet back in time and you're just picking a skull.
Yeah.
Because you think,
gun.
I've got to kill someone. I've got to find who the real baddie is of global history and make sure they snuff
Why the fuck are you sending people back in time to... Why not just build a time gun? Much smaller. Presumably it's easier to send a bullet back in time than a full human being or a car, and then just pinpoint it. Time gun.
I think even what you're doing is less efficient. I say you build the time machine on the bottom bit of a guillotine and have it just suck them into the present.
Time-a-tine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guillotine.
Fuck. Chrono knife. Oh, man. That's sick. In the past, it just seems like their head just disappears off their body.
You can suck their whole body through. I mean,
and then in a scientist's lab, it's like dunk, and like Hitler's head just rolls into a basket.
Yeah, you see like a portal with sort of an undulating particle effect circumference.
Yeah,
it goes over their head like a big sock, and then you just hear the blade slicing through the air and blood coming down what you can see of like their neck, and the portal disappears.
Please, if you're a historian and listen to this, please start researching and checking the historical sources for anyone's head spontaneously disappearing for evidence of whether we build this.
Well, it could be that, just by talking about it, if this survives long enough that like someone with these ideas have it in the future, they can implement that and then it can affect the past.
Whoa. Well, I'm really worried that it's going to get used on us now.
Imagine we're just looking at each other right now and one of the portals appears. Who would it be?
Through a webcam. Schlink. Yeah.
Yeah. Someone with a very, very bad grasp of paradoxes thinks if they kill me, it'll stop them inventing the machine.
Yeah, I don't want to have built this chrono knife So take out Sean Morley.
I've got to kill the person who told me that it was a good idea. Yeah. You need to start looking a little bit, a bit closer to home with who to blame for building the machine there, buddy, if you are listening. One of the problem with that time machine is that it sees all history as the fault of just some mysterious bad guy, that it's some guess who of baddies, and if you pick the right one, then some ill sketched out utopia just sort of ferments in the present.
Yeah. The baddies theory of history.
But if you're not looking for a baddie, then you need to... It's like in his Dark Materials, they're going to a parallel world where everything's got like a diamond spine, and it needs to be like as early doors as like the formation of what it means to have like people together. So you need to go back to like state formation and then throw a spanner in the works. But that's abstract and hard.
Yeah. Makes less compelling japes. It's easy to conceive of go back in time and kill Hitler. It's hard to conceive of like go back in time and stop capitalism developing or stop patriarchy developing or stop racism.
Yeah, because who's the baddie?
Yeah, there's no like one baddie. So with all that in mind, you are able to travel in the Nissan Micra back to January 2020. Get out of the car. You've not hit anything. It's safe. You just outside yours. You lock it up. Dink. What are you going to do?
Well, my only power is a year's worth of knowledge.
You know all the bad things that are going to come. You're going to know about like, we're going to send people with COVID into the care homes. We're going to just give the test and trace system to private companies that fuck it up. Like, you know all this shit's coming. You know also the Labour election is ongoing, leadership election. So,
oh no, I completely forgot about that element of it.
Well, 2020 was bad, so it's very easy to memory hole a lot of stuff. Well, you sort of had to memory hole by necessity, because if you think about all the things that are happening that are fucked at the same time, your brain and body start to shut down. So you kind of, maybe you got to pick something.
Or pick one thing to stop.
Yeah.
I really think this power of having a year's worth of future knowledge is not very useful. Principally because I'm just one guy. If I brought back the whole population of the UK, but then the population of the UK would double, so that was straight away. It's going to cause issues.
Yeah, and you'd still bring back all the people who the never below 35% Tory supporters. And also now you've been baddie pilled, so you can't go back and then get rid of Boris Johnson, because that's going to do fuck all.
Do you ever think that there's an event that could be so destabilizing that like...
No.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, but so I always think because we talked about this before, like what would happen if aliens landed and the aliens is there anything that would completely throw off our sense of reality so much that the people who are just grifting would like at least look up from their grifting tools to look up at the sky for a second? This
last year, I mean, and probably years before it, has just proved that in the situation we're in now, no.
Okay, but here's another angle, right?
Yeah.
Boris Johnson is probably an arch example of like the worst kind of a guy, right?
He's a baddie.
He's sort of a child baddie who's that the discourse has like gotten so polluted that you could like Trump and Johnson together prove that things are so fucked and the veneer of like respectability is so that you could just be toddler level baddie. You can have like tantrum toddler level baddie and still absolutely nothing comes close to toppling you from the seat of power. Except, what if I just brought Boris Johnson back with me? Two Johnsons would cause a power struggle.
Double Johnson. Yeah, so you're not thinking, he could have the experience, he could have the awareness of all the things that have gone wrong.
No, because he'd do the same.
Yeah, he'd do exactly the same things. He'd be like, I got all that money to Circo, sound.
Yeah. His annoyance now is there's someone in his house.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's someone eating my food in my house. I need to kill him like I do all my enemies. I will conspire with there's two Johnsons ringing up. You know when he tried to ring up his mate to get a journalist beaten up. He rings up all his mates who like break limbs for him, but they're both getting the same like hit on each other.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
and no one knows. No one can tell which Johnson's Johnson because they've just got the same voice. They've got the same ID.
Yeah. All of Twitter would have to come to an agreement to stop using the meme of the two Spider-Men. Like, we're done with that.
He's got the same Twitter password.
Yeah.
Both Johnsons could be logging in, posting.
Every tweet he makes, there's just another threaded tweet underneath being like, no, not this. This is wrong. Because the only thing that could defeat the Tories is just the Tories.
Okay.
But it's dangerous, isn't it? It's dangerous playing with fire.
The horizon of the political imagination is, if you took Boris Johnson back in time to January 2020, he could possibly defeat Boris Johnson A.
Yeah.
And replace him with Boris Johnson B. But you couldn't make any real change other than replace Johnson with Johnson.
No, because they wouldn't be replaced. They'd be trapped in eternal combat. It's the same. Okay. I think we'd extend it to, I wouldn't go back and kill Hitler. I'd just double the Hitlers.
Take another Hitler back. Hitler.
Double the Hitlers. I'd clone them in half like a worm.
So if two Johnsons appeared, because he's got the keys to Down Street or whatever, do you think that could wreck people's heads enough that they would change?
No.
Hold on, there's two of this guy.
No, it's more that there would be like eternal deadlock because there's two Johnsons. It would cause, I'd say, at the very least, it would cause a constitutional crisis.
Wow. Yeah, I'm in.
What we don't want to do, we can't reform Westminster, and we're not going to destroy Westminster, so it's not going to go anywhere and it's not going to improve. So the best thing it can do is just become this Ouroboros, just dealing with its own existential problem with no time to do anything else. Johnson versus Johnson for infinity.
Yeah.
That is the best case scenario. For every baddie, they are instantly cloned. Imagine, Napoleon waging war across like the Iberian Peninsula, and then suddenly
versus Napoleon
wakes up. There's another Napoleon.
Fuck.
I think the conquests would stop while Napoleon tried to sort out this fundamental problem.
What if they became pals?
Oh God. I guess key to this is the idea that far-right ideology struggles with becomes pals and work together. Because if they could be okay, we operate on a system of mutualism, then I think there would be more friction with working together than there would be of trying to kill each other for eternity while achieving none of their other aims.
See, I think the other way. I think if you took a leftist back in time to themselves a year ago, they would get in a deadlock of battle of like over slight disagreements. Yeah. And if you took a right-wing person back, they would immediately form an alliance to fuck other people over. They do mutual aid among themselves. And who is more their own class than a clone of them? Well, not a clone, a time traveling.
Well, no, that's really grim what you're saying there.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Well, how about instead we just get a horse, the fastest horse in the world, 88 kilometers an hour. It goes through a wormhole and it just goes straight through Boris Johnson.
Why do you need time travel to run over Boris Johnson with a horse?
It's just better, isn't it?
Yeah, and optically it just sounds less like inciting violence because it's got a sci-fi element.
Yeah.
Chrono knife, slicing through time to win the life. Chrono knife.
Hey kids, check this out. That's right, this is the chrono knife. It's a guillotine that can slice anyone's head from their body from any time or place.
Me and my dad used chrono blade to kill Amenhotep II, the pharaoh from Exodus, changing the plot of the Old Testament. It's better now.
I went back to the 19th century and stopped Ada Lovelace from inventing computer programming. Now me and my friends can play outside.
I used the chrono knife to kill Hitler. It didn't really change anything, but I have got Hitler's head. You want to see? I use it as a piggy bank, but it's starting to rot. It makes me coins smell horrible.
The chrono knife is only available for the mandatory Redistribution Party, and if you attempt to use the chrono knife on the host of the mandatory Redistribution Party, they will get you first.
Have you ever engaged with a piece of media or a piece of art that you have been told has sent people insane?
Yes.
Please elaborate.
I have watched the late Soviet-era World War II movie Come and See, which even before I watched it, everything I'd read about it was indicating that it is deeply harrowing and will mess you up for months, if not years. And I think about it every day.
I know you've watched this because you bring it up a lot. It's like your go-to worst thing I can bring up.
Don't watch that movie.
Really? Never?
Well, actually, I would highly recommend watching that movie, but it's be ready. Be ready. It's intense.
I think my one of that is The Act of Killing, which made me go quiet for over a week. But I don't think it's as viscerally harrowing because it is dealing with the lives of people who lived through something which has now ended. It doesn't depict it in front of your eyes in real time. So that's in terms of like horrors of war, psychological distress going mad. Is there anything else you've engaged with that you've been told this could make you go absolutely insane?
There's like DMT count.
Yeah. Do you remember Erowid? Is that still around?
Oh no, what's Erowid?
Erowid is a website. It may have changed now, but going back like a decade and a half or so, it was like a wiki for people who were trying drugs. And because no one trusts the government on drugs, and they still shouldn't, they would just record what happens and then write about it so that there's sort of a little wiki and everyone can stay safe. And so people would go, I've heard if you smoke this herb or this leaf, it has some effect. And then 2 weeks later, someone will go, I tried it. I don't remember what happened for 3 days. Don't take this.
Whoa.
Do not take this. And you'd be like, wow. Someone just like to sort of benefit the community. You sent yourself absolutely mad for the sake of a wiki article.
That's a good wiki.
It's a good wiki, isn't it?
More respect for posting on that than the real Wikipedia, because you've got to do it.
Yeah, well, it's like people going off and just going down big caves that could collapse on them just to see what's in there. Got to be fair enough. A lot of the times, nothing, just stone. Sometimes a wonderful jewel.
Yeah, a little chest.
Yeah, the little chest, yeah. Hope it's one of the glowing ones. I got told that about Crime and Punishment. I got told, don't read that, it might make you go mad. And I wasn't going to read it, but then I did. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Do you have that thing if someone goes, this will turn you insane? You're like, I'm getting it right now.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I've remembered that I hugely regret that with. Human Centipede. Never watched that movie.
It just sucks, isn't it? It's just boring.
It's boring and horrible.
That came out around the time when edgelord is the wrong word, but like we were definitely just teenagers, and we were like, we decided it'd be really cool to rent Human Centipede, but watch it while having a really big meal.
Oh, that would have been bad.
It was fine. It was boring. My only long-lasting gripe about the Human Centipede, what did the guy think a centipede is? A centipede's not a collection of things eating each other's ass.
That bugs me. A centipede is one creature.
Yeah, a centipede's one guy.
Yeah. So it would be
Centipedes
transforming.
are lots of different guys.
Yeah. The centipede doesn't have a different brain in each segment of its body.
Yeah.
Idiot.
Imagine like this guy just being at the train station and seeing those trains where all the carriages are connected and being like, oh no, that is one train. I fucked it.
Yeah, exactly. It should have been called the human train.
The human train.
Yeah, choo-choo.
Because you can go from one end of the train to the other.
Yes, exactly.
Much like a single piece of shit could travel from the first carriage to the last carriage.
Yeah.
Human train. But it doesn't carry the same weird freakishness. The human train.
Yeah. The person who gets initial pure food, not shit, is first class. Snowpiercer.
Snowpiercer or that Spanish film.
Oh, with the lift of the food.
Film.
The food go and the floors. Yeah.
The Platform.
Yeah.
Great premise, bad execution. Don't recommend it.
Of everything we've mentioned, watch Snowpiercer, the movie.
Yeah, but don't watch the series.
Don't watch the series and watch Come and See. Don't watch The Human Centipede, please.
You're telling people to watch Come and See.
If you want to get your head fucked, research what it is before you go in. It's just a very good piece of art. You should watch it for that reason.
Just have it on your bucket list. Watch it on your deathbed so you can't be traumatised for very long.
Yeah.
Like if the doctor can give you a really precise ETA of your own death, watch it so you die during the credits. So you don't need to like deal with thinking about it, but you have to.
Yeah, that's the Mando's rec. Watch immediately pre-death. Yeah, movies to see before you die, but immediately before you die.
So I've been reading about a thought experiment, which allegedly turned a lot of like tech libertarians mad.
Right. What was it?
So it's called Rocco's Basilisk.
Yeah. Is it about Elon Musk isn't actually that smart? Is that what it says in it?
Elon Musk is involved, actually.
Whoa, Jesus. Okay.
Musk is only going out with Grimes because of this thought experiment.
What?
But we'll cover that in a second.
I'm in. Lay it on me.
Okay, so this got started in a forum. You know, it's one of these rational, where we're dedicated to rational philosophy, enlightenment forums.
Yeah.
But they got really mad into the technological singularity, which just parenthetically cover that. That's the idea that computers are getting faster and then computers will make other computers that get faster up until the point where Jack's a cube. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And someone came up with this idea that like scared a lot of these guys because they almost became like a doomsday cult because they believed the singularity was coming and that all the worst Asimov things were going to befall everyone. And there was this idea that if humanity ever made a supercomputer AI that would, govern on its behalf, one of the computer's central protocols will be to ensure its own existence and continued survival.
This is the original premise of Terminator Salvation. But basically, the premise of Terminator Salvation was that Skynet actually was programmed to defend humanity, and it realized that anthropological climate change was destroying the planet. To protect humanity, whatever Skynet's logic was that it needed to cull humanity massively, which is, hugely problematic. Fucking population, blah, blah, blah.
Do you know of utilitarianism?
Yeah, it's bad.
So there's like different flavors of utilitarianism, and one of them is negative utilitarianism, where rather than try to give people the best experiences, you just want to reduce everyone's pain. And then you combine that with a bit of like Asimov's 3 laws of robotics, and you could be like, well, people won't be having a lot of pain if they're dead.
Yeah.
This is different. So future supercomputer, it wants to preserve its own existence, and it doesn't want dissenters killing it, right?
Yeah.
And it also wants to make sure it doesn't want people not building it in the first place.
Right, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So part of its protocol is anyone who doesn't contribute to the building of this machine,
right,
once it is finished, it'll get you.
Wow.
The idea, and this is what sent like the tech bro community mad, is once you've been told that this is possible, in order to preserve your own life in the future, you need to start contributing to the creation of this machine.
You need to,
because if it gets contributed without you, it's going to get you.
It's going to get you. So you need to start.
It's going to get you.
Yeah, we should open another tab now and start learning to code.
And it got taken down. It got scrubbed because people were saying, don't, because this is sending people doolally because they think they've got to make this thing because you've convinced them that by knowing about it, they've got to make it. And now they're trying to make an AI that's going to kill everyone who didn't make the AI. Delete this. It's mad. Yeah, it's on this forum called Less Wrong that feels like it went from being one of those rational wiki, Stefan Molyneux, we're like the high, like kind of skirting the borders, but not being within the dark enlightenment.
Okay, yeah.
If you know about that, like late 2000s internet vibe of like monarchical fascism, not quite in that, but then just became like a singularity doomsday guys, and they just went mad on this idea. And where Musk comes in is because in 2015 Grimes released an album that made this really specific pun on Rocco's basilisk by saying Rococo basilisk, and Rococo being that like 17th century French art style where everything's got these like floral embossed and that kind of, if you look up at like a big old church made like in Central Europe around the 18th century, everything's just over the top. So she put Rococo basilisk in a song, released an album, then looked up that specific search on Twitter, and Elon Musk had tweeted it with like no context before she'd written it, and then they went out and they've had a baby together now. Wow. Based on that.
And is that baby going to become the AI?
I think that baby is Rocco's basilisk, and that's why they named it a computer name.
Yes.
That is going to kill everyone who didn't help make it. But because it's organic, that's just 2 people survive.
Just before it becomes full AI, a horse is going to smash through it at 88 kph.
Just as it is at an age where we're not killing a child, a portal will emerge just above the head. Like a sort of Egyptian sun disk.
Yeah, the Mando's version of the creepy sort of Red Top or Daily Mail, oh, the chick who plays Hermione's going to turn 18 today. But instead of for that, it's a countdown till Horse Portal.
Horse Portal. Yeah, and no one can see that and be like, well, I'll stop that, because it's not clear what that means. If you understand what that timer caption means, you're going to be into it. You're going to want the Horse Portal. This forum as well, it's called Less Wrong.
Yeah.
It ended up being instrumental in forming some of the ideas and popularising this thing called effective altruism.
Okay.
So while you might not know what that is, but you might know who Peter Singer is, the animal rights guy.
Vaguely.
Peter Singer, big animal rights philosopher.
How big? 7 foot?
Gargantuan.
Right. Bigger than King Kong?
And he popularised this. Well, King Kong actually is quite cool, right? Well, King Kong's a whole other episode. I've got a lot to say about King Kong. After having watched the 1933 King Kong, I've got a lot to say about King Kong. Peter Singer popularised this idea called effective altruism, and it is a top-tier trash idea.
Right.
Effective altruism is trying to do utilitarianism to charity.
Right.
So, imagine you got ethical consumerism in one hand.
Yes.
And on the other, you've got this kind of min-max, hyper-capitalist, every investment needs to have the best yield. And you merge those together to make, individualist, capitalism-lensed altruism.
Wow.
Where you would never donate to a small charity, for instance, because they couldn't get as much done with your donation as maybe a bigger charity. And you've got to put everything into this index of how much it will actually get done in the world.
We should trick them into investing in communism.
It would have a big impact.
Yeah. If we can convince them that investing into communism is a better use of their money than these charities, because I'm going to put my money in Oxfam instead of this local charity box because Oxfam's a bigger thing and it's going to solve more. Yeah, well, if you want something that's going to solve more and do more things to help more people, strap in, buddy. I got a suggestion for you.
Yeah, I've got one that's going to blow your mind. Do you know what? I think you've absolutely nailed it, because if you take effective altruism and Rocco's Basilisk and put them together and say, what you need to do is make a regime called communism. And also, let me tell you, if everyone ever makes it, it's also going to destroy everyone to help it come to be.
You have to help Robo-Stalin.
Yeah.
Or you're fucked.
Yeah, because better get going, because now you know about it. You're going to be on the hit list for not helping.
Oh my God. Shit.
I'll get tweeting.
Yeah.
Before tech bros, before STEM brain, before muskrats, before Reddit finance edgelords, before Sky News anti-tax policy wonks, before technology as we know it, there was a primordial condition I call numbers brain. Numbers brain has two main symptoms. Number one, a belief that it is practically possible to adequately represent parts of the human experience through quantitative numerical systems. And number two, a belief that this resulting system will then be free from bias, prejudice, and ideology. In the 21st century, no one wants to propose a regime. Regimes are scary. They smell like World War II. Instead, people just want to follow the data. Flat, chrome-embossed data. Cold, inhuman, and most importantly, impartial. A useful stooge to have in your back pocket to point a shaking arm at and plead desperately, "It wasn't me, my lad, it were the numbers," as your voice reverberates across the silent chambers of The Hague. And yet, when we look at the data, what a shame. It says here we need to serve
the regime.
The origin of what if the world but numbers can be plucked from the preserved but stinking head of liberal philosopher Jeremy Bentham. Utilitarianism is the practice of trying to cram the entire panoply of human experience into discrete goodness or badness points. This exhaustive project, once complete, would allow us to make any kind of moral, judicial or practical decision just by smashing out an abacus and flicking the beads around a bit. Small bowl of potpourri? Hey, that's 5 goodness points. Asbestos? 50 badness points. But utilitarianism's flaws are writ large once you stop trying to apply it to varying numbers of people tying to different railway tracks and see how far it can get you through any number of mundane daily events. How do we measure the utility of a jam sandwich over a bowl of porridge? How do we measure the utility of a twig, a tearful goodbye, an empty packet of Space Raiders? How do we account for different people reacting differently to the same environment, product or event? Or the same person reacting differently to the same things at different times of day? How do we deal with people who are wrong about their own preferences? How do we deal with human psychological limitations that prevent us from making adequate choices about what's best for us in the long run? If the best outcome is the one which provides the most utility, all I need to do to justify murder is to ensure I love murdering more than my victim hates being murdered. Utilitarianism really ought to have been hoyed into history's vast and inconquerable trash hole. And yet, it lives on, modified and tweaked to shamble through each new wave of objections into the minds of 2 centuries of liberal academics and politicians. The pull of numbers brain is simply too strong. Today, the shadow of utilitarianism still looms large, and its core assumptions can be found across all number of disciplines. For example, game theory, which attempts to model complex sets of decisions by judging the utility payoffs of every possible permutation, simply by assuming that all human rationality invariably works to maximize everyone's personal utility payoffs, is not some historical curiosity. Game theory is central to modern economics, political science and evolutionary biology is a sentence I've just copied from an Oxford University third-year PPE lecture PowerPoint. It is quite literally stamped onto the brains at the Prime Minister factory. And it's no coincidence that these ideas would do numbers at a forum of technological singularity tech bros. All these pursuits are underpinned by the belief that there's one weird trick for systematizing the management of human life using little more than the interior of an office and half a dozen white colleagues. Just in case this needs saying, this is not a diatribe against numbers. Please do not take this out on numbers. If you have a number in your life, please protect it. Treasure it. This is an attack on the repeated habit of philosophers, policymakers and technocrats to preserve their ideology in a snow globe of intersecting algorithms and force us, the grey shivering NPCs of their new reality, to live inside it. The face of contemporary utilitarianism is Peter Singer, and his 2 protégés William MacAskill and Toby Ord have turned his theories into something practical by founding charities based on the idea of effective altruism. Effective altruism evaluates charitable giving based on the scale of its impact on the world. Their charity Giving What We Can asks that people pay 10% of their income to be put to use in the most effective and efficient way possible. They've so far been pledged in excess of $2 billion. And there should be no surprises about what it means to pledge your money as efficiently as possible. Naturally, they're not going to give money to the homeless person outside the office so they can pay for shelter and a hot meal. I'm afraid the scope of that is simply too puny. Giving What You Can explicitly advises against giving money to fight climate change. According to their calculations, it's incredibly expensive to make even a small amount of headway in fighting climate change, so it's simply not cost effective. Most of their donations go towards fighting the effects of naturally occurring medical conditions, like malaria or schistosomiasis, presumably because they could be conceivably wiped out one day, whereas problems caused or exacerbated by capitalism are simply too expensive to prevent. Their charity, 80,000 Hours, named after the amount of time the average person spends working, was set up to advise people on what job to take using the same metrics. Part of their advice is not just to think about what would happen if you took up a philanthropic job, but what would happen if you didn't. If you become a doctor in sub-Saharan Africa, you would save an estimated 300 lives across your career, but if you didn't take that job and someone else would, those lives would still be saved. And this would leave you open to becoming a banker and donating even more of your money to charity. Oh, but what about the bad social side effects of taking up lucrative careers in finance? Well, that doesn't matter, because even if you didn't take them, someone else would. There still would be a banker doing that stuff. William MacAskill uses the example of Oskar Schindler in World War II, suggesting that if there was a future fascist state government, it would be okay to run a munitions factory for them, because at least you'd be in a good position to smuggle out some refugees on the side. These charities are fundamentally a hedge fund to absolve rich liberals of their immense and deserved guilt. It is as close to activism as whispering "oh dear" at an oil spill. What kind of charity yanks the novelty dial labelled more bankers? How can you push people into banking careers so they earn enough money to fractionally mitigate some of the harms caused by global finance without seeing some of the contradictions in this system? If you want to see a more thorough takedown of this stuff, I really recommend Amir Srinivasan's review, Stop the Robot Apocalypse, in the London Review of Books. It's solid, it's good, take a look. But if you want to see what's really warped about these ideas, you need to pop open the hood and shine a laser pointer at its guts. This bit's kind of grim, so I want to flag the next 2 minutes for ableism. For Ord and MacAskill, their utilitarian unit of goodness is a quality-adjusted life year, or a QALY, Q-A-L-Y. A year of healthy life is worth 1 QALY. A year of life on dialysis is worth 0.65. A year of life with AIDS is worth 0.5. A year of life while blind is worth 0.4 QALYs, and so on and so on. Now, to them, money is spent effectively if you can make the low number go high, especially if you can make it go high for a long time, and then that's worth doing as an investment. Now, If you see where this is going and you think that ranking the values of people's lives like this can lead to some grim conclusions, you only need to look to the spokesperson for effective altruism. Peter Singer has gone on record to say it is okay to kill a disabled infant if it makes room for an able-bodied infant. Peter Singer thinks we should scrap all investment in guide dogs and it all should be replaced with research into preventing blindness. He's come out in favour of the Ashley treatment, where severely disabled children undergo extensive surgery to stop them ever growing to the size of an adult or reaching puberty. He has said it is less bad if a cognitively impaired person is sexually abused than if a healthy person is. And it's bad. It's fucked. It's bad. For all the PR these charities get, they're founded on this horrific eugenicsy quagmire. And this is what happens when you're just too institutionalized to show any requisite humility about where your weird little numbers game is leading you. You'll follow its breadcrumb trail to whatever twisted conclusions it takes you on and stake your career trying to use it to fuck up people's lives. When you create a system of any kind, you need to define the scope of your framework and then work within it. If you create a robot to be good at basketball, you're not going to return and discover it's also learned how to make a pie. If you base a charity around gaming capitalism with voluntary donations, you cannot then use that to overturn capitalism. If you never think that society is going to create the conditions where disabled people can have any kind of quality of life, then you'll just have to go forward operating as though they're expendable. You cannot question or overturn the system if you've bound yourself to it. If capitalism is truly inevitable and there are no margins to work outside of it, then why not just become a banker that donates all your money to charity? When we imagine robot overlords using some twisted logic to trap humans in some far-flung future dystopia, we imagine some weird alien logic that drives the behaviour of our metal oppressors. But really, and far more plausibly, they'd simply destroy our lives by continuing the exact same regime of maximising profits at all costs that we live under now and that their creators are going to believe when they make them. When you create a system, you simply make an extension of your own values, realised in numbers. But a system, like any machine, cannot see beyond itself. It cannot contradict its core assumptions. It cannot know the joy of completely tearing something down and building something better in its place.
Mandatory Redistribution Party was created and produced by Sean Morley and Jack Evans. Our title theme was created by Ella Jean. Additional music from Jack Evans and Sean Morley. Thank you for listening. It's great to be back. If you'd like to support the podcast, please consider doing so through Patreon, by leaving us a review on iTunes, or by sharing episodes on social media. Thank you, and see you next time.